Fatal Strike Productions presents the Zindarian Tomes of Power. Narrated by Steve Fortune. Performed by Sean Ferguson as Elland Yon, Michael Garamoni as Aaron Lehman, Connor Bell as Dalton Anthroy, John Brattin as Richard Franklin, Todd Wilson as Titus Yon, Alexandra Stefanova as Emma Yon, Thomas Rose as Tustin, and Wes Tanner as Ropage. Episode 3, Marching Bones.
My head.
Elland awoke to the sound of clamoring soldiers. He sat up and looked around. He was in the dungeon, laying on a bed in one of the cells. People were rushing to and fro in front of the open door. He rubbed the side of his head to try and push away a throbbing migraine. As he did, flakes of dried blood were scratched off and drifted to the floor.
What happened?
Elland climbed to his feet and a wave of dizziness washed over him. He grabbed onto the nearby cell door to help balance himself. Cots for the wounded had been set up in various cells. A few civilians milled about, looking into supply crates that had been brought down. He noticed one soldier sitting in the aisle, hugging his knees, rocking back and forth, mumbling something.
Enough! All of this back and forth isn't getting us anywhere.
Elland heard Dalton's familiar voice coming from the back of the dungeon and started to make his way there. The longer he was on his feet, the more his dizziness faded, although the spiking migraine was still there.
We've lost most of our numbers, and the keep is irreparably damaged. We're going to make a run for Old Ashton.
Yes, sir. I don't think we can stay here too much longer, sir. These cells? The dampness isn't going to help our wounded any. No, sir. No, sir, it isn't.
Elland squeezed through the small crowd of people to the very last cell on the left. A large table had been set up in the center of the room. There was a map spread out over it. Dalton, Aaron, Titus, and a few veteran soldiers stood around the table, studying the map.
Yes, sir. I think this path will do us well, sir. See where it wraps out at the main site of the towers? Would be easy to get us all through there too, sir.
Good. It was easier to come up with a plan than I was expecting it would be.
We need to remain at the keep and fortify the wall. This is still a highly defensible position, and there should be plenty of supplies left at the bay and Knave's Mill we can recover.
You've already pointed that out, and the answer is still no.
Be more open to things, Dalton. Remaining here and defending the keep is a valid option.
A soldier rushed into the cell, shoving past Elland and nearly knocking him over.
Sir, one of the soldiers at the main hall spotted a few of the small green creatures darting through the wood.
How many soldiers are up there now?
5, sir.
All right, find 2 more soldiers and reinforce them until we're ready to march.
And start stacking the rubble up to make a more defensible position in case they decide to attack.
Titus, if you don't...
Elland, you're awake!
Yeah, my head still throbs, but I'll be fine. What happened with the creature?
Dalton slayed the beast.
Elland raised an eyebrow at that.
I may have dealt the fatal blow, but we all killed it. I didn't fly up and chop its head off or anything dramatic like that.
Do you think you should be up and around so fast? Maybe you should lie back down for a bit.
I'll be fine. What's the plan now?
We were just discussing that. We're going to Old Ashton, but your father insists on staying here and piling rocks up where a wall had once been.
I didn't say pile up rocks. We would be fortifying a wall. It's easy enough.
Elland swayed and grabbed the bars to hold himself upright.
You really should go lie back down. You look like you're barely holding yourself together.
A soldier entered the cell before Elland could reply.
Sir, all the supplies have been brought down as you ordered. Also, the count came to 24 soldiers, 5 of them injured, and 10 civilians.
Thank you. Go to check to see if Tustin has made it back with that scouting report.
Yes, sir.
The soldier darted out of the room to complete his new task.
Why are you giving out orders? Where's the commander? Did he fall?
No, he's still alive, but he's been injured and is unconscious at the moment.
And you're in command now?
Don't sound so surprised. The other sergeant of arms died in the fight. I just sort of fell in the role.
You need to let me take the lead from here. I've got real experience leading as a sergeant of arms. You're in a little over your head here.
You are not a sergeant of arms. You're a civilian. Do not press this again, Titus. I respect that you've served before, but if you try to dole out orders again, I'll have you thrown out of this room.
You can't have me thrown out of here, and you're not the commander. The command falls to the senior man at arms.
That would be me, and we have all decided that Dalton should take command. You should accept this.
You've all lost your minds. You're going to sit here and take orders from this kid?
Get out now!
I'm not going anywhere.
The three soldiers walked over to Titus. One of them placed a hand on his shoulder. Titus slapped his arm away and the soldiers stiffened.
Relax. I'll leave. You're a bunch of fools, and this boy is going to get you killed.
Titus pushed past the soldiers and stomped out of the cell.
Was that necessary, Dalton?
Yes, it was. He wouldn't have stopped until we were all at attention following his orders. We need to focus. Elland, come on in and join us if you're going to stay.
Elland walked over and leaned on the table. The map was of Western Ifeon. The other soldiers and Aaron gathered around as well.
We're going to head straight for Old Ashton. It's about a 2-day march, but I feel it's our only good option. We should head out in the next hour or so.
I think you're right, but in the next hour or so would be rushing it. Some of the men need time to recover. We could make the garrison wall defensible temporarily while everyone has a chance to rest.
Not this again. I've already said fixing the wall is out of the question. Are you going against me as well, Aaron?
Give him a chance to explain, Dalton. Go on, Aaron. What are you thinking?
I'm not going against you. I'm just stating the problems I see, and the both of you have major flaws in your plans.
Flaws?
What do you mean?
Titus wants to repair the wall and hold up indefinitely here, but the supplies are dwindling, and no matter what repairs we do to the wall, it won't be enough. You want to gather everyone up and take them on a 2-day march right after a horrific battle. Let's combine the plans. Repair, fortify, and guard the wall the best we can. Do supply runs to the bay and Knaves Mill. Let the soldiers rest and prepare for the march, then head out tomorrow morning.
That sounds like a good idea to me.
I like that idea. I'm sure the men here will do better after a day of food and rest, too.
Yes, fine, I'll consider it. We need Tustin's scouting report before we make any concrete decisions, though.
You should ask him for it then.
Tustin stood in the doorway, scraping the dirt out from underneath his fingernails with a dagger. He had on his old leather clothes again. He was given a uniform and instructed to wear it because all soldiers, temporarily conscripted or not, had to bear the Kingdom of Ifeon symbol. His response was to cut the symbol out and sew it on to his leather vest, next to the squirrel pelt.
Well?
Well?
The report, Tustin. What's the report?
That was a pretty rude way to ask. But since I like you so much, I suppose I'll let it slide. It's clear at Knaves Mill and a quarter mile past it. The forest has seen a lot of activity recently, mostly those little green creatures from the look of the tracks, although there were some bigger tracks mixed in with those. Looks like something we haven't run into yet.
Big? Like the creature we just killed?
No, much smaller than that. From what I could gather from the tracks is that it walks on 2 feet and roughly 200 to 300 pounds.
That's still a big something.
Tustin, gather a few men to scavenge whatever supplies might be left at the bay, then go to Knaves Mill after that.
Supplies? What exactly do we need that we don't have? There's more than enough weapons, gear, and medical supplies for this small bunch.
We're running low on food.
Food? There's plenty of it laying in the training yard.
You're not suggesting...
What? Cut that big bastard up and you can feed an army.
We don't know how safe that would be.
It's red meat. Don't be picky. The little green ones taste like chicken. Maybe the big one will taste like steak.
They all just stared at him, speechless. Dalton shook his head.
Just go, please.
All right, I'll do it. But I'm gonna cut off some nice fillets on my way out. Don't come to me when you're starving, though.
The next morning, everyone started to gather outside to prepare for the long march. The first rays of sunlight were starting to shine, and the breeze had a sharp chill to it. The soldiers formed up 3 across, and the civilians were put in the middle carrying most of the supplies. Dalton was already outside inspecting the progress.
You there. Go over and make sure all the civilians are tying their packs properly. We don't need supplies dropping everywhere if we have to run or fight.
Yes, sir.
Dalton looked around to see if Tustin made it back yet. It was very annoying to have to track him down every time he came back from scouting. He spotted Aaron, Titus, and Elland instead. They were in the very back doing last-minute checks on their gear. Dalton headed over to them.
Everyone about ready?
I think we're good to go.
Has anyone seen Tustin? I believe he hides from me after his scouting trips just to spite me.
I wouldn't put it past him.
Yes, well, let me know if you spot him. Titus. I wanted to talk to you about yesterday.
No need. Emotions were just high. What you did was good. Gave the men a little rest. Plus, who knows, maybe leaving was the best choice after all.
Regardless, I'm sorry about throwing you out.
And I'm sorry for calling you boy. It seems I have a bad habit with that.
Elland glanced over at his father but didn't say anything. At that moment, Hemma walked out of the garrison and over to the group. She had on chainmail and an open-faced steel helmet. She carried the spiked mace over her shoulder.
Mother, what are you doing?
What? Are we not leaving?
Oh, yes, but why are you dressed like a soldier?
I'm dressed like this because we might fight. You don't think we will have to fight?
Yes, we might fight, but women shouldn't be forced to...
I've taught your mother a few things. It's fine.
Hemma narrowed her eyes at Elland, lips pursed.
I'm more than capable of handling myself. Thank you very much.
That's an interesting choice for a weapon. It seems to suit you, I think.
It's a great idea, actually. We should have armed all of the other civilians as well.
All right, love. Go smash that thing's head in.
That little dead creature? Why?
If you can't hit a dead one, you surely won't be able to hit a live one. Come on, hit it as hard as you can in the head, like I showed you.
She looked at the small green corpse. There was a sword protruding from its back. The blood that had oozed out and onto the ground had turned black.
Come on now. Fighting is not for the faint of heart.
She placed a hand on her throat and grimaced.
Didn't you say something about being Ishkan?
She glared at Titus, who then just crossed his arms and waited patiently. Hemma then lifted her chin, clenched her jaw, and brought her mace into a two-handed stance. She tightened her grip, lifted it up, and came down on the thing's head. Dalton put his hand to his mouth and Aaron looked on with wide eyes.
It stinks!
That's not how I showed you to swing that thing. Put your back into it and lean forward. Come on, do it again.
She gaped at Titus, incredulous. She immediately regretted that. The stench was so strong she could taste it on the wind when she opened her mouth. Elland started to go and help her, but Titus held him back. She placed a foot on the thing's neck and pulled, freeing her mace and getting into the same stance again.
Oh my god, she's going to do it again.
Yes, quiet.
The thing's head exploded in a shower of rotting flesh and black blood.
Good, solid swing. That's more like it.
Dalton and Aaron started to laugh. Hemma snapped her head their way, baring her teeth. Black blood and bits of flesh had sprayed her face, and she still clutched her weapon tightly.
Got to go. Command something. Good day.
Yes, I'll go with you and do the same.
That was a good swing. Remind me not to get on your bad side.
Titus walked up to Hemma with a rag and started to wipe the blood off her face.
Let's just hope you don't have to swing at a live one.
They marched down the road until the midday sun was beaming down on them. Dalton stopped and raised a hand, signaling them to take a break.
The heat is too thick. We'll rest in the shadows of the trees for now.
Elland searched for Aaron and saw him and his parents settling down next to a nearby tree. He moved to join them.
How's everyone holding up?
It is hot. How do you wear all of this metal and walk in the sun? It's dreadful. I'm going to take it off.
No, you're not. Believe me, it's worse to carry it. And we're not leaving a good set of mail behind. Besides, you'll be safer with it on, if you decide to charge into battle.
Why do you talk to me in such a way now? Never have you been like this.
I've got to treat you like this. You won't improve as a fighter if I don't.
Well, when do I get my loving husband back?
I'm always your loving husband, dear.
He's right, Mother. The mail will help a great deal if you're struck.
How's your head, son? Looks like you had a pretty nasty blow in that last encounter.
Elland gently touched the bandage that was around his head. It was a blatant sign of yet another failure. It struck Elland quite suddenly that the tree they were leaning against was twice as large as any other he had seen before. The tangled branches cast odd shadows on the ground, and the light dappled their legs.
Son?
Huh? Oh, yes, I'm fine.
Titus didn't seem convinced, but he let it go at that. Elland, ready to change the subject, looked over to Aaron. He was standing up, running his hand across the tree they were next to, inspecting it. The tree itself was covered in what appeared to be thick, dark green stains. Perhaps some sort of moss?
Have you noticed anything strange about some of the trees we've walked by? Like this one?
I didn't really pay attention.
What are you talking about?
They're thicker than usual, and the trunk is dark green, and I can feel small hairs on it, like fur or something.
Hemmer and Elland got up to inspect the tree as well, placing a hand on it. It didn't actually feel like moss at all. There was no give to it, no spongy texture. It was more like touching a bristled brush.
You're right. This is odd.
Look at the leaves.
Elland got a closer look at them, and his mother was right. It was alien, but beautiful at the same time. The leaves were the size of a man's head. They were such a bright green that they seemed to shine. And if you looked close enough, you could see small blue veins running through it. Titus reached up and picked one off a branch.
Titus!
What? It's a tree.
A clear liquid started to seep from the end of it. Titus wiped some of it off and rubbed it between his fingers, smelling it. He looked up to see everyone staring at him, holding their breath.
Well? I told you, it's just a tree.
The wind blew harder, stirring up a few fallen leaves from the ground. It was as though the tree itself was protesting the dismissal. A soldier ran by the group, making them jump. They looked over to see what the commotion was.
What's happened?
Richard is awake!
A ripple of commotion swept through the group. Dalton forced his way through a small crowd and over to Richard's side. He was sitting up, holding the bridge of his nose with his eyes closed.
What happened?
We killed the beast and are now marching to Old Ashton, like you had originally planned?
Richard shook his head and was clearly confused.
I don't remember much of what happened. How long has it been?
Richard stood up, waving away several soldiers that approached to help.
Where's my sword and armor? Someone get me my sword and armor now. And everyone form up. Who took command? I need to be updated on what's going on.
I did, sir.
You?
Yes, sir.
Where's my sergeants of arms?
All dead.
Richard stopped at that and looked at the soldiers and civilians forming up. There were so few now and vulnerable out here in the open.
All right. Fall back in line.
Sir, we need to discuss what's...
Excuse me. Do you presume to tell me what we need to do? I gave you an order. Fall back in line.
Everyone had fully formed up and was looking their way. Dalton's face turned red and his chest tightened. He ran to the formation and got in line, not meeting anyone's eyes.
To the front of the line, so I can figure out what sort of mess we're in.
Dalton made fists at his side and jogged up to the front of the line. He breathed out hard, clearly steadying himself. Slowly, the displeasure melted off his face, an expression of neutrality settling there instead. A few moments later, Richard walked up to the front of the group and was about to give the command to march, but shrill whistling cut through the air. All heads snapped towards the sound, just in time to see Tustin barreling out from the trees.
We need to run or get ready to fight.
Tustin? So you accepted the conscription. Why aren't you in uniform?
This is a bad time to talk about fashion. We've got to...
You don't give orders here.
Tustin has been scouting for us and...
Quiet. Where's Haverty? I want someone who actually knows how to scout.
Haverty's dead, sir.
Lebron?
Dead as well.
You.
Richard pointed to a soldier carrying a bow. He stood up straight and his eyes went wide.
Huh? You're our scout now. Get in the woods and report back if you spot anything.
The soldier stood there for a second looking at his comrades, then back to Richard, who was glaring at him. The soldier jumped into motion, running into the woods.
I wouldn't do that.
Fall in line. You're no scout. And we'll talk about your punishment for not being in uniform when we get to Old Ashton.
You know what? I'll be happy to fall back in line, sir.
Tustin made his way to the very back of the formation where Aaron, Titus, Hemmer, and Elland were.
Everyone, forward march.
They all began to march down the road again. Elland leaned close to Tustin.
You saw something, didn't you?
Sure did. If you're smart, you'll follow my lead when the chaos hits.
Desertion?
More like a tactical retreat.
Don't be a coward, Tustin.
I'm no coward, but what I saw will kill the lot of us. Our only chance is to beat feet as soon as the fighting, well, slaughtering begins.
Still, desertion is not an option.
Well, you can stay with your blind leader and die. I know what we're going to face. He doesn't.
He's right. Richard's pride will get us all killed. I say we go with Tustin.
The entire group froze.
Line up! Civilians in the back!
Everyone shuffled into position frantically. Civilians tripped over one another to get behind the line of soldiers.
Steady, men! Steady!
All right, when they hit our line, that will be our sign.
Our sign for what?
Dalton? I thought you were ordered to the front.
I was. I didn't hear any sort of duration in that order. If he wanted me there the whole time, I'm sure he would have specified. Anyway, I say again, our sign for what?
We're going to run as soon as the fighting starts.
Sounds good. Ready when you are.
Tustin says we won't be able to fight. Wait, what? You're okay with it? Just like that?
Yeah, sure. I'll go too.
We're not going to tuck tail and run. We're going to...
Hush. We're going to.
All went quiet except for the nervous shuffling of the soldiers. A giant wolf burst through the trees, hitting the line of soldiers, then continuing to the other side, dragging an unfortunate man with it. He screamed, hitting the ground and clawing at the earth. They all turned and faced the direction where the beast disappeared. 2 more wolves emerged from behind them, snatching up 2 more victims. They grabbed the men by their legs, yanking them backwards. It happened so fast that the other soldiers didn't have time to react, their screams fading as they were dragged away.
Now, this way.
They started running down the road away from the main group.
A little further, then we'll turn north.
But that's where the wolves originally came from.
I know. The others will be running south, so the wolves should give chase in that direction.
Tustin abruptly turned and ran into the woods, the others following behind.
I can't keep up!
Tustin slowed to a walk and waited for everyone to gather around.
I think we may be good.
Tustin looked to his right as a huge wolf leapt at him. He jumped to the side, barely getting out of the way. Titus came in hard and rammed his spear in its shoulder.
Shoot it now! I'll try to hold it!
The wolf grabbed the spear with its teeth, catching Titus's left hand at the same time. The beast jerked back, ripping Titus's hand in half and pulling the weapon free. Bright red blood sprayed out of the torn hand as he collapsed on the ground. The wolf dashed towards Titus hungrily. It was struck by one of Aaron's bolts in the chest and stumbled backwards.
Now's our chance!
Dalton dashed in, trying to take advantage of the opening, but the wolf recovered far more quickly than he anticipated. Dalton swung and the wolf dodged low with lightning reflexes. It shot forward, snatching Dalton by the ankle. Dalton's sword flew from his hand as he hit the ground. The wolf bit down hard and started to drag him into the forest.
Ah, help! Help me!
Dalton turned to the side and desperately clawed at the ground. An arrow hit it in the side of the neck, but the wolf ignored it, trying to escape with its prize. Elland gave chase with sword and shield at the ready. He gained on the wolf quickly and was only a few feet from it in a matter of moments. It let go of Dalton's ankle and focused on Elland. He froze. Hemmer raced past Elland, holding her mace high in the air. She struck the beast right in the head, embedding the spiked weapon deep into its skull. Hemmer couldn't pull the weapon free, and it was jerked out of her hands as the wolf jumped back from the impact. She stumbled forward, and the wolf pounced on her. It bit and raked its claws down on her viciously.
Mother!
Elland charged forward and rammed his sword into the wolf's side. Another bolt hit the wolf in the chest, and an arrow planted in one of its eyes. Elland pulled his sword free and ran it through once again.
Kill it quickly!
Titus charged in with his spear tucked in tight under his right arm. He collided with the wolf, piercing its heart with his spear.
Hammer!
Titus started to push the large wolf, but it wouldn't budge.
Help me get this thing off her!
Elland, Aaron, and Tustin rushed over to help as well.
Push, Hammer! Push!
They all pushed at once and rolled the wolf over. Titus knelt down and started looking over her wounds.
You're all right, love. You're all right.
There were several tears in her chainmail and blood flowed freely from them. Titus pulled her mail off and began wrapping her wounds quickly before she lost too much blood.
What can I do?
It's all right. I've got it. I believe these wounds look a lot worse than what they are. She'll be fine.
It looks like you were right. Good thing I left this metal on.
You shouldn't run into danger like that.
Hemmer looked at her son and smiled weakly.
I knew you would come save me if I needed it.
Elland returned the smile. Aaron walked up and placed a hand on Elland's shoulder.
And you did just that. I saw you charge that wolf like one of the heroes of old.
Elland thought back on what he just did and smiled to himself. Then another twinge of worry hit him in the gut.
Are you sure, Father? She's all right.
Yes, I'm certain.
Don't worry about me. I'm sure I'll be all right. Just bloody and broken is all.
Dalton laid a distance away, trying to tend to his mangled ankle. Aaron rushed over to him.
Sorry, my friend. Let me take a look at this.
Be careful.
That pup might have some friends. We need to get moving again.
Well, that might be a bit of an issue for me. Ah! I said be careful.
Oh, stop crying or we may just leave you here. There, stand and give it a try.
Dalton got up using his good leg, then tried to put pressure on his injured foot and fell back to the ground.
Ah, damnation!
I think your ankle has been crushed. You may not be able to walk for a while.
Leaving him here still an option?
Yeah, you got my vote.
Dalton glared at the both of them, and they just grinned back.
All right, that's enough. Aaron, you'll have to carry it. Ellen, me and you will carry as much of their gear as we can. Let's get moving.
They continued to travel until dusk, then made camp next to one of the strange trees they had seen earlier. There were more and more of these trees the further north they went. They also spotted large, colorful bugs they had never seen before. The bugs zipped through the air, odd, sturdier forms of butterflies. On the wind, a sweet scent like sugar was being carried. They had a small fire going by nightfall, and some questionable meat procured by Tustin cooking on it. They were all sitting by the fire, looking into the flames. Hemmer was leaned against Titus, his arms tight around her. Elland relaxed against the tree. Aaron sat cross-legged next to him, and Dalton was laying on the ground. Tustin was somewhere. Who knew what he was up to?
A giant wolf. We fought a giant wolf. Green creatures, monsters the size of a house, and odd trees and bugs. It's like we're in another world.
The twilight hour turned the sky into a bruise and cast a veil of shadow onto the forest. A small white rabbit moved through the underbrush, almost ghostly in appearance. In the dark of the evening, several flowers began to unfurl their silver petals, glittering in the bushes like stars.
Maybe we are.
Elland looked to Aaron, but he continued to look at the fire and didn't say anything further. Embers sparked from the wood, drifting up into the air like the fae of stories.
Maybe this is all some extravagant nightmare.
I don't know about you, but I feel very awake.
Elland shook his head. The twilight was starting to get to him. He was seeing more and more in the forest than was really there.
Just stay focused on the next step. No point in trying to understand something you can't.
And just what is our next step?
It's the same as before. We make it to Old Ashton.
Do you really think it still stands? Does anything still stand?
We won't truly know till we get there. Might as well go for the best odds we have.
Do you think anyone else was able to escape the wolves?
I'm sure a few of them got away.
They all jumped at Tustin's sudden appearance. He walked over and grabbed a chunk of meat that was cooking over the fire, then held it out towards Elland.
Here, you need to eat something.
What is it?
It's, chicken.
Tustin smiled, but Elland narrowed his eyes. Tustin tore the meat and shoved one half in his mouth, then held the other half to Elland again.
Come on, it's good.
All right, I suppose I am hungry.
Elland took the mystery meat and popped it in his mouth, then began to chew.
You're right. It does taste like chicken.
Tentatively, the rest of the party partook of the meat as well.
What'd I tell you? Good stuff.
Elland shot up to his feet in an instant. Everyone but Dalton jumped up as well, grabbing their weapons.
What is it? Did you see something?
Yes, it was a light. A bright yellow light. Just for an instant.
I don't see anything.
Are you sure your eyes aren't just playing tricks on you?
No, I'm certain. It looked like it might be a lantern.
I believe he's right. I think I saw something out of the corner of my eye.
A lantern? What would something like that be doing out here? It's a trick. We should keep our eyes out for it. But nothing more.
What? No! If it's a lantern, that means it's a person. We might be able to get some help.
I think your father is right. It seems very unlikely someone is just walking around this far out with a lantern.
I'm going to go check it out.
So, let me get this straight. After everything we've seen, you think it's a good idea to chase a light in the middle of the night in a strange forest?
Elland looked at Tustin flatly.
Yes.
All right, I'm in.
Trouble finds us enough. Don't chase more of it. Your father is right. Stay here.
We'll be fine. Come on, Tustin. Let's go check it out.
Hold on, let me grab my crossbow. I'm coming with you. There should be at least one person with some sense to watch over you two.
Be careful out there. If you see anything strange, come right back.
You mean strange like a yellow light in the woods?
Titus rolled his eyes and sat back down with Hemmer. Aaron gathered his crossbow and sword and caught up to Elland and Tustin, who had already walked into the night.
There it is. Do you see it?
Elland pointed into the distance where a steady yellow light hovered.
I see it, but it isn't moving at all. It's definitely not a lantern. It's too high, and it's not bobbing at all.
Okay, this is the strange part Titus was talking about. Let's get back to camp.
I've got to know what it is.
Elland started that way, but Aaron grabbed him by the arm.
I think this is a very, very bad idea.
Oh, come on. Don't tell me the wolf pup bit your balls off.
Aaron let go of Elland and crossed his arms.
Yeah, it'll be all right.
Elland gave a sly smile and started to walk towards the light.
Come on, the light is moving away.
They followed the unnaturally steady light for some time. It seemed to stay at the same exact distance from them, no matter how fast they were going, and Elland's nerves began to wear on him.
Well, maybe we should turn back.
It's gone. Do you see it?
No, I don't see it anywhere. Let's head back.
Hold on, we've got to at least check out the last place I saw it.
They followed Tustin to the place he indicated and came upon a clearing. Just beyond the tree line was a cabin. A wooden picket fence, painted white, surrounded it. The ground outside of the fence was littered with old stumps. Inside of the fence was a well-maintained garden that wrapped around the cabin. Firelight and the shadows flickered through the window. Tustin moved toward the cabin.
What are you doing?
We came this far. Might as well see who's home.
Aaron looked on, shocked at Tustin's stupidity. He looked to Elland for support, who just shrugged his shoulders and carefully followed Tustin.
You two are gonna get me killed. That's just a fact.
Aaron reluctantly followed as well. They opened the small gate on the fence and walked towards the cabin. Elland looked around at the immaculate garden. There were apples, strawberries, oranges, potatoes, and all sorts of other fruits and vegetables. The crops seemed much larger than usual, though. He even spotted an apple the size of 2 fists. They approached the front of the cabin. There was a short covering that stretched over the top of 2 steps, both of which looked fairly rickety.
Well?
Well, what?
Go knock on the door.
Oh no, this is your show, remember? You go knock on it.
Tustin?
No, don't be daft.
What do you call knocking on a random door in the middle of the woods?
Tustin narrowed his eyes at him.
What I mean is that me and you have bows, so we need some distance.
Okay, fine.
Elland slowly approached the door, wincing at every creak of the old steps. He stopped just in front of the door and looked back. They both gave him an impatient nod and readied their bows again. Elland lifted his fist to knock, but before he could, the door burst open, flooding them with firelight. A black, silhouetted figure stood before them.
Dare I say, is it true? Has the call been answered? Yes, it has! The foretold catastrophe has struck! The heroes have arrived!
Their eyes adjusted, and they saw an old man wearing a ratty and torn grey robe, and an equally worn wide-brimmed hat that used to be pointy atop the head, but was now limp, hanging on the side of his head. His bright green eyes were wide as he held his hands in the air, causing his sleeves to bunch up and expose scrawny arms. He was grinning, showing the few rotting teeth he had left. The group was too stunned to reply.
Don't just stand there! I have a fire going, and all they eat's pouring right out! Yes, right out the door! You three, you should come in! Please! Welcome!
Hi, I'm Nathan Boston, creator of the Zindarian Tomes of Power. I want to thank you so much for listening to the show. You know, we're really trying to build momentum with this story, especially here in Season 1. Would you do us a favor? Please hit that like button and make sure you subscribe so you don't miss out on future episodes of the show. Once again, thanks so much, and we'll see you on the next Zindarian Tomes of Power.
Fatal Strike Productions, copyright 2021, produced and written by Nathan Boston, all rights reserved. Performed by Steve Fortune, Sean Ferguson, Michael Garamoni, Connor Bell, John Brattin, Todd Wilson, Alexandra Stefanova, and Thomas Rose.